So I was looking at some of this stuff here on Twitter. Derek Strickland, Tom Henderson are reporting that the hardware decline for Microsoft seems to have been the biggest factor, but the Game Pass, revenue increase and growth has compensated somehow and pushed them over to the 2% that they basically did see. So this is very interesting because I remember looking at Nib 95's own post yesterday where he was talking about, the Game Pass thing not being the most, not being that great right now for Xbox. However, with his analysis in light of everything, I think there's a disconnect. Now, again, not that anybody should listen to Nib or listen to, Tweaktown. You can look at the data yourself and you can draw your own conclusions. I'm not going to tell you what to think. When data's out there for you, you go ahead and you basically embrace what the data is telling you. However, I see a conclusion for him saying either way, it hasn't been looking real great for Game Pass from a growth perspective, whereas Derek Strickland and Tom Henderson are reporting here that Xbox Q2 2025 earnings results show revenue decline, but revenue growth with Game Pass. So the revenue decline shown up here by hardware and even some of the content services seem to have been basically absorbed by Game Pass. So if we go back and look at Sony's assessment of Microsoft and Xbox when their leak from Insomniac came out, you can see that they found out that this was a threat. So there's just almost, you got to kind of hit them on 3 pain points. So with 2 pain points actually affecting them, one of their services absorbs a lot of the damage. It's weird. So they have a multi-game subscription. According to PlayStation, Microsoft can supply multi-game subscription 50%, console games 50%, PC 60%. So somewhere, somehow, they're bringing in and raking in revenue on multiple fronts, and it seems to be working out for them, which is just quite interesting at the end of the day. So if my perception is correct, when Phil Spencer said that we lost the console generation in the Xbox One generation, the worst generation to lose, and seeing how now their strategy has basically been keeping them afloat, and now they're coming up with this strategy that seems to be a lot more ironclad, even though they're going crazy, they're doubling down on profitability and trying to basically focus on high margin business in order to just boost profits. So their profits basically remained untouched, by the way. I don't know if anybody saw that piece, because that's another part that a lot of people are missing, is that their profits, regardless of this hardware decline, their profits stayed the same. Another piece that a lot of people may not necessarily be talking about is that the revenue was down $503 million year over year. If PlayStation were to put in context what Concord did to them in terms of the loss and Lego Horizon Adventures, if they were to look at those numbers, that's pretty much almost the same. However, PlayStation will see hardware, increases, which could then push them a little bit forward. So again, both business strategies are dependent on something. And this is just me kind of, using my mind to kind of picture everything together. Both strategies have their little, pluses and minuses. But then at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, if you think about it, it is exactly what you would probably see from a business that has a multi-pronged approach compared to one that does not necessarily have, a multi-pronged approach, who has to actually deal with, the console itself. So overall, I think you can give credit to Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella about, what it is that they've done with their business, and also give credit to PlayStation in the sense that they made sure that they prioritized in the PlayStation 4 generation how they were going to go about doing things. I've also seen some people basically say, it's because if Xbox would just make these games, that's why they're exclusives. That's why people are not buying their platform. And it's like, no. It's too late. Like, do you understand? Like, I've seen, here, Arvon's, you are a data analyst, but you also need to be a realist. All of this fantasy-like thinking that we're all going to engage in is not going to basically mend the issue. The issue was already busted back then in the Xbox One generation. You know this. We all know this. I mean, you guys are the ones that have been teaching me this stuff. So why would we try to revise the history? You said Xbox became a publisher. PlayStation is also a publisher. PlayStation is bringing out Spider-Man today on PC. Well, it probably has already launched. You said they don't compete with Sony anymore as a hardware platform. They are like EA and Ubisoft. EA and Ubisoft doesn't have hardware. Stop it. All of you need to quit. Like, why do you guys keep doing this weird comparison? They are different. They maintain that difference. A publisher with subscription services, PlayStation also has subscription services. The console war was won by Sony in the adult market and Nintendo for the younger side. No, young people don't have money to buy consoles. It's the adults that buy the consoles. Nintendo understands their market very uniquely. All these people saying you can say they compete with them as a publisher, but as a platform, not anymore. That's not true. PlayStation sees them as a threat. For you to conclude this is kind of strange at the end of the day. Sure, they're going after Google on the big stage. Even PlayStation mentions it here. In addition, they're building a mobile gaming store to compete with Apple and Google, but that's on the mobile side. And so I had to reply in one of your comments and say, because you were talking about all the exclusivity stuff, PlayStation doesn't have exclusives anymore. Remember Herman Holst basically sitting here in this March 10, 2020 article. As of that time, before Horizon Zero Dawn came out, PlayStation maintained exclusivity exclusive on its platforms. There was nowhere else that you'd play PlayStation games. Most of them. Maybe at that time they had put say 1 or 2 games on Steam, and I don't even know how that even happened. However, as of today, with Marvel Spider-Man 2 being on deck here, this game comes out January 30th. They haven't even put it up for pre-order. They've been advertising it. They've done all the whatever. They removed the PlayStation Plus requirement. This is no longer exclusive to only the PlayStation ecosystem. Why? How do I know? I owned a PS4. I could only play PS4 games on there till about 2020 when Horizon Zero Dawn first made its way to PC. And I also had a PC as well. So if, and hopefully my video comes out, which y'all are going to watch, which is why do you need a PlayStation anymore? You're going to see that getting a platform is basically much more predicated on all kinds of other things other than exclusives. Because if exclusives were just it, PC players would all go buy a PlayStation, but some are not buying a PlayStation. They're just looking and saying, if the game doesn't come my way, then I'll probably go ahead and relax, if you get what I mean. So we can look at it in context of that and make some sense out of it, because at the end of the day, this is, exactly what you should be thinking about in a grand scheme of things. So this whole thing is so interesting that Xbox loses and still gets some wins at the same time, and it's still fine. I mean, it's just weird, but I guess that's what they were gunning for in a market where they knew that they were number 3 and their competitors were really, really trying, very hard. Well, their main competitor at the time, PlayStation, to get them out of business. But now they've basically come in with the publishing side, the content side, and they've dominated like crazy. All right, I'm out. Talk to me in the comment section. Let me hear your thoughts. I know this is a very weird, it's a very weird setup, but I mean, most of you that have been saying that, they need console sales, you can see that their strategy has put them in a very interesting place. They're not like PlayStation in a business application side, which is very interesting, isn't it? All right, I'm out. Peace out.